Okay, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 1 2, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is Ralph Hayes Jr., RH Jr. Reality Check, coming to you live through the internet through a series of tubes known as the boob tube we call YouTube, bringing you another bit of my little contribution to the litter along the information highway. A little something I like to call the one, the only. Dun 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 dun, dun. Spleen Squeezins. I don't know if you can hear this or not. I don't know if I can hear this. I don't know if I can hear this or not. I don't know what's. I don't know what's going on. I never know what's going on. I'm always at a loss. I think I need a new mouse. I think I need a new mouse. This one, the slightest touch, it double clicks. I think there's a short in it somewhere. I hate. I've got mices. I got old mice all over the place. I got plenty of spare mice. In case one mouse explodes. That's the interesting thing. If your mouse completely self-destructs, you end up using an old mouse. But if it only goes bad a little bit, you end up buying a new one. The logic, I don't know. Is it logical? I can't tell. But, and it's a big but. It's a heavy but. It's the biggest, heaviest butt you've ever seen. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can see this or not. I don't know if you can hear me. I hate trying to figure out if you can hear me or not, because the ding-a-ling ding-dong system isn't working right. Spring in my step is a spring in my step turn all the way up? No, it's not. There we go. That might help. I don't know if it's too loud or not. I don't know if the music's too loud. I don't know if the music's too soft. I don't know. I hate not being able to tell. And not even knowing how I would go about telling. One of those things where you don't know what you don't know and you don't even know you don't know it. Recursive inception ignorance. I'm out of soda pop. I'm out of soda pop. I'm out of milk. I'm out of Dr. Pepper. I'm out of Kool-Aid. And drink. I hate this song. Out of all the songs on here, I really hate that one. I can't begin to tell you why. It just is. Okay, I dialed this up with the intention of. Let's see. I did not wake up until after this noon. Because I didn't get to bed until like. I usually don't get to bed until close to morning. And I don't get up until afternoon. So I end up sleeping through the morning, basically. But I never seem to get anything done. I wake up tired. Half of the fact is that I sleep on a busted ass bed. It's exhausting. Because I don't get up because I wake up and refreshed. I get up because eventually my back hurts too much to sleep. You get what I'm saying? I have not got a single comfortable piece of furniture in this house. I have this big beautiful recliner, but I bought it at like Big Lots, and it's a great big old double. You got to imagine a double wide recliner, great big huge thing. I fell in love with it the moment I saw it. And I bought it, and I had it delivered, and I assembled it here in my living room. And it wasn't too long after that, my legs got so big and so heavy that the lever that makes the footrest pop up, the footrest won't pop up anymore. It can't. It can't lift my legs. And so, Instead of a recliner, I've just got a really big chair. And all the fake leather has peeled off the seat, so it just flakes off now and just, gets stuck to your back of your legs. And if you're like me, you need to have your the only way you can really be comfortable is with your feet elevated. And this chair is the springs and nuts and the spring lever system isn't strong enough to lift my legs. It's like trying to lift two small children. It doesn't work. I could probably maybe if I bought a footstool, I don't know, but getting my feet up and down get my legs up and down off of that footstool would be a nice little exercise and in the struggle of life. But we've gotten around to my complain about life segment of the show quite early. It's nice to see, get ahead of schedule. Just going to say I'm really tired right now. Got a little bit of a headache. But I'm always tired. I'm always tired. If I'm not doing something passive, I'm all out of juice. Ah, damn it! Now what? Pardon my language. Nerp, 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 nerp. Give me some random music. Give me some random music. Come on, you stupid. My mouse either won't click or it double clicks. I don't know. I need a new mouse. I need a new everything. Just the number of things that I would not need to replace a number in the intangibles. I've got a house full of junk, and I could probably push 99% of it into a landfill and not miss it. House and all, trailer and all rather, mobile home. It's not a trailer. It's a mobile home. Difference being, mobile home basically doesn't move once you put it in place. Misadvertising there. It's not a mobile home. I've got another 8 days before I can see the doctor like I wanted to a month ago. To have him take a look at my legs. It's just so tiring. I went to all the trouble. Finally got cornered, and because they called me, at the last minute. Oh, are you sure you really want to go? And I didn't get to the phone. They canceled it on me, and so now I have to wait until April 7th before I can go see my doctor. This is the bullshit that I have to live with. It should be a very simple procedure. If I don't call you back and saying cancel this, do not cancel it. That should be obvious. But no, they gotta schedule him to call me at the last minute. 1 day beforehand. And are you sure you really wanted this? And if I don't answer, they cancel it. Half the problem is I got my bed is at one end of the house and the phone is at the other, and that's not liable to change anytime soon. You'll have to excuse. I've got a purchasing goal in mind, you know, for this month. Uh, has anybody heard anything about those stimulus checks they keep talking about? $1,200, $1,200, $1,200, and I ain't seen it yet. It'd be nice to know when they're supposed to arrive because times are tight and everybody's on a stopwatch. I need a new everything. I need. There are so many things I need to get. But there's no time to get them. And then there's it's that old joke: food, clothing, or shelter. Pick any two. You gotta choose. Gotta choose. Hey, Daniel Meyer. How you doing, Danny? Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. Well, they sprung a leak. You're probably gonna have to fetch them again. How's it going, Danny? So many things. I'm sitting here talking into this thing. I'm trying to, kick my ass hard enough that I'll start working. Okay. Let's see here. Turn on the art program. The art program is on. Space, the final frontier. Crap. Trade one star fuel for another. I don't know. I can't sing the Star Trek theme. Okay, let's window capture 2. Window capture 2. And it's looking at me and going, wood. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we can turn off this. No, that's not it. Commissions. Old Vic. Old Vic. Where did I put this? I used to have a system, then I lost it. I have no system. Always just tired. Just tired all the time, man. Being sick all the time too doesn't help. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I can handle being fat, and all the crap that comes with that. But being fat and crippled, I'm effectively crippled. I can walk, but barely, and when when you're distorted like a circus freak, I am not an animal. Starts to get to you. just the least little bit, you know. Got a problem with my mouse. It's double clicks with the slightest touch. Now that's more of a problem than you think, because it means that well, you can see those little flecks at the end of my lines. That little dot. That's from double clicking. I got plenty of old mice floating around. They're all defective. It's sort of an odd little paradox you have to buy. If your mouse breaks, hey, great, I've got a spare one to hold on to. But if you have one that goes kind of bad, it still works, but it's getting glitchy, and you have to buy a new one. And the next thing you know, you got a pile of mice that, well, they still work. And you don't want to throw them away, because you don't want to be a wastrel like your mama warned you about. You don't want to waste money. You see that? You see that? Just as little dots. It's aggravating as heck. I don't know why it is when I start on this. It's like half my energy just drains away on the spot. It's like starting out, starting up. If you walk into your character walks into a new area in a video game, and all of a sudden you watch your hit points suddenly go halfway down for no reason at all. It's like, ah, crap. One of those little loves and lives and There have been some that's been bugging me. Of course, that's a long list. But, and this is a big but, it's a big but, it's the heaviest, biggest but you've ever seen. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of commentators about, the comic book industry and the movie industry, just the entertainment industry in general. Very knowledgeable people, most of them. Some of them who have been in the business themselves, talking about why everything's gone to crap. And I recently heard one commentator, watched a YouTube video. The guy was talking about why why social justice warriors and why they can't write a good comic. And his argument is basically the same reason that most Christian movies are so lame, is because the message is more important to them than the story. And that is the thing. That is the thing. When somebody proclaims themselves a Christian artist of any type, that's like big neon sign. It says, "I'm trying to disguise my sermon as something flavorful." Truth being true. And that's not to say that sermons in and of themselves are bad. I mean, the movie God's Not Dead, for all the spitting and hissing it got from non-Christians and from people who are hostile to Christianity, it was a fairly popular movie. Where it was screened, it packed seats, and people apparently enjoyed seeing it. But there's the truth: is that the message of the movie was more important than the story. If that's your goal, I suppose it's okay, but it's not going to make for a great movie, or a great cartoon, or a great comic book, or a great anything. Because the sermon has become, because the sermon you're trying to fit in becomes more important than the story you're trying to tell, and the artistic quality of the story suffers. That's true to an extent. It's part of the reason that, well, I'll be honest. It's part of the reason that I abandoned the. It's why I abandoned Fellowship of Heroes, and why I decided to close out the probability bomb, because I could either write a good story or preach a good sermon, and I'm not a very good preacher. But my upbringing in a Christian family is that the gospel message is more important than anything else, and that your focus should be completely on the gospel message. And if you're more concerned about making a good story, then you're not really spiritually into it. I don't know. It leaves you with something of a conundrum when you want to do, when you want to do anything with a Christian theme. Now, I feel, I don't know. You look at my comic strips. My comic strips, they do get preachy. I won't deny it. But I also, my first goal is to make them funny. That's why, that's part of the mental block I have on many of the comic strips, because the topics I end up addressing, just, I have a little trouble laughing at. I don't know. But where was I going with it? I've sort of derailed the train there. Well, anyway, his contention is that these social justice warriors, they make these comics, and more of them make. They're making. They're getting worse. You should see the. It's awful. It's awful. And then they show you, you look at this and you go, you look at their revamp, Thundercats Roar, which is, look it up if you want to scream and horror. If you were a fan of the Thundercats in the 80s, if you want to have a good cry, look up Thundercats Roar. And then if you want to scream in psychotic rage, look up a picture of the guy who created Thundercats Roar. He's a fat 30-something. He's got a completely round head, horn-rimmed glasses, and a big old man bun on top of his head, bobbling around while he talks about what a great show he's created. I've never wanted to just kill somebody through the internet so badly. It's like, it's just not a hate so much as like, oh Lord, kill it before it spreads. And then there's the New Warriors. Marvel Comics New Warriors. I remember the old, the original New Warriors that came out in the 90s. They were cool. They had Speedball and Night Thrasher and Firestar and Speedball, Night Thrasher, Firestar, Namora, Kid Nova. It was a pretty. I even had a couple of the first few issues, which I eventually threw away like a dummy. But anyway, it was a pretty good comic. I liked it back then. I used to get it whenever I could, and but this, I'm not kidding you. I'm not making. I swear, I'm not making this up. The roster includes the twins, African American twins, Snowflake, and Safe Space. Safe Space is the guy. He's dressed in pink. Snowflake is the girl. She's dressed in blue. She's biologically a girl, but she identifies as gender neutral. And then there's bandwidth or airtime or something like that. He has internet powers because he inhaled his uncle inventor's internet gas. I don't know either. And then there's B negative, who's an emo throwback. He's a teenager who's gotten Michael Morbius's vampire powers. And he likes the classic. He likes the classic emo music of the 90s. Oh Lord. And then there's the Native American girl, big fat Dora the Explorer, basically, who calls herself Trailblazer. Native American who calls herself Trailblazer. And she has a magic backpack that she can reach into and get whatever she needs. Dora the Explorer. Or maybe she just ate Dora the Explorer. He's a great big huge fat heifer of a character. And we're supposed to take this seriously. This is their thing. This is their goal. This is the New Warriors. And and they showed a pic. I saw footage of the guy who's writing and drawing this. The guy emits nerd pheromones through the internet. He's a skinny, gawky, huge Adam Apple, balding, 30-something, premature balding, 20 to 30-something guy. He said, back when I was a kid, we saw, back in the 90s when I was a kid, I saw the New Warriors comic, and I thought, oh, those are too cool for me. I'm like, he's a complete phoebe. Just, and this is what they create. And Well, anyway, this and it is like so punchable. But the guy I'm talking about, the guy that was doing the commentary on why SJWs can't seem to write good comics, his whole argument is that SJWs, for them, the message is more important than making a good story, and thus the story suffers. And I'm like, dude, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. Could I present a counter? Could I present an expansion on the argument rather? Maybe the reason social justice warrior comics suck so bad is because, yeah, the sermon is more important to them. The message is more important to them than the story. But could we also venture forth the proposition that it's so terrible because their message is crap in and of itself? Their values, their beliefs, their causes, their politics are absolute shite. Socialism, collectivism, and gender neutral pronouns and all this gender bullshit, and this constant litany of how women in Western civilization are oppressed by the patriarchy, which is the biggest load of fairy tale nonsense that you ever heard of. Western women are among the most privileged, pampered, and spoiled class that has ever walked the face of the earth. But they're oppressed, because if you're not oppressed, you can't whine for more goodies. And their environmentalist bullshit, their xeno homo, Islamo. You're phobic of this, you're racist, you're sexist, you're this, you're that, because you didn't give us our cookie. If their message wasn't garbage, the stories would not suffer nearly as bad. But they write these stories, they have to just tie themselves in knots to make their values and beliefs look good, even in a contrived situation. Are you following what I'm saying here? They're awful because their inherent values are awful. And the stories they write about, touting their beliefs and values and their worldview are just a dumpster fire. They're a turd on a platter. And all the great writing in the world won't change it. I submit to you that despite the shortcomings of writing a diatribe, this I found was a dialogue, a dialect, and a diatribe. A dialogue is where you exchange ideas. A dialect is where you discuss the truth of an idea. A diatribe is where you just spit an idea out at other people. A sermon, in other words. And I'm sorry, even a diatribe can be good if there is some truth to the sermon being preached. But they're preaching absolute shite, and everybody knows it, and nobody wants to admit it. So they try and blame the fact that their stories are a offense to anybody with a brain, by saying, oh well, they just don't use the right narrative technique. You can't, for all that using a different, for all that focusing more on the story would improve it, for all that focusing more on the story than the message is generally a good approach for writing a better story. Duh. Uh, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. If the message that comes along with a story is crap, the story is still going to be crap. Especially if the and more so because the person writing the story is having to cover up for the flaws and fallacies and failures of the message. Trying to hammer, trying to paint over top of really horrible beliefs and philosophies and terrible logic with really cool story. It is sort of like what they did with Star Wars. They tried to cover up bad writing, and feminist soapboxing. They tried to paint over top of it with big flashy graphics and and dazzling space battles and weird alien, in the new Star Wars, and it didn't work. It's like trying to paint over a rusted car with paint. You can get the paint as smooth as you want, but eventually that rust is going to work right through. No, nobody wants to address. Everybody's trying to avoid addressing the truthfulness or falsehood of what the SJWs are spouting. And they don't want to admit that the reason people want nothing to do with SJ, it has nothing to do with their terrible storytelling method. It has everything to do with the fact that what they're trying to tell everybody is garbage, and everybody knows it. And as long as you keep telling them, oh, it's just your story, they'll keep trying to repackage the message any way they can, and it will still suck. Yeah, nothing going on out in the wild blue. They're talking about keeping the lockdown or the shutdown or the self quarantine or whatever you want to call it going till April 30th. Now is this correct that they've pushed the due date for tax returns all the way back to June 15th? I read an article that claimed that, and I'm like, hmm. I would like to hope that they push it back to where the tax return, tax day is after they mail out all those checks, that they keep talking. Does anybody know when those checks are supposed to mail? Married couples are supposed to, married couples and with kids are supposed to get like 2,400, and everybody else is supposed to get like 1,200 each. And the married couples 2,400, single people 1,200, and married couples with kids get like a bonus per kid or something like that. That was the last I heard. Now I'd also heard that they finally passed the bill, after pummeling Nancy Pelosi unconscious and stuffing her under a podium. until the vote was done. But really, that woman has redefined the term horrible. But I haven't heard anything else. And not letting people know when these stimulus checks are supposed to mail, kind of anxiety inducing. Some of us, we're not big mega corporations, but we have people with, people with bills in their hand and one hand and stopwatches in the other are standing behind us, tapping our shoulder, saying, "Okay, you got so many minutes left." So if they're going to send me $1,000, I'd like to know when, so I can plan accordingly. And I'm not going to feel an ounce of guilt. They've spent pretty much my entire life, taking from me, and now I'm having to go through I'm going through the rigmarole trying to get my, the Social Security back, through disability, and I have decided not to allow myself to feel an ounce of guilt about receiving anything from the government in the way of pay, because I've spent my whole life saying, "Don't do this, don't do this. This is bad. This is bad for the system. This is bad for the economy. This is bad for the government. This is bad for the, bad for the nation. We need to go, as uh, Ayn Rand put it, the only people with any moral justification in a given society, in a given community, the only people who have any moral right to the when the society finally votes, to give itself, money out of the public coffers, the only person there that has any moral right to it is the person who said no, who voted against the proceedings, because they're the only ones who tried to stop the looting of the public. Ergo, they're the only ones who are not willing participants in the organized plunder, and are in fact a victim of it. This is one of the things that the Democrats a while back, they tried to make a big hullabaloo, because it turned out, they found out, they did the math, they did the numbers, and they found out that the states that opposed government welfare the most were the states where most of it was handed back out. And the Democrats tried to go around going, "This is hypocrisy," and the rest of us were going, "That's karma. You tried to vote yourself free money out of the public coffers, and it ended up in the pockets of the people that tried to stop you. That's karmic justice right there." What do you think so far? What do you think of the picture so far, Danny? It's slow going. I know it's slow going, and I got to come back and do the coloring, and I've got to put a dress. Figure out some sort of dress, but I'm gonna put the cattails and the weeds and everything all on the edge. On the stimulus check, they keep saying we'll start wailing sometime in the next 3 weeks. Great. My landlord will start evicting me sometime in the next 3 weeks. So that times out perfectly. Well, he's not really. He's not. I'm not having any trouble with the landlord. In fact, as soon as tomorrow, April 1st clicks through, on April 2nd, I'm going to be mailing out I'm going to be mailing out a pretty sizable check to the landlord. I won't be catching up on the rent, but I will be throwing him a sizable chunk of it. Because circumstances, thank God, circumstances the stars have aligned so that I have some extra money this month, which will all go to them. I'm hoping that there will be, currently my electric bill is paid off through till April. My internet bill is paid off through till mid-April. The bill was supposed to, the bill was due April 15th, the bastards. And, I should have till I should have till the middle of May before the next bill for my internet and my electricity comes through, and my trash collection. And I gotta set up the lawnmower. I gotta tell the lawnmower people the lawnmower people came today and yesterday and mowed. So I've got to tell them to skip the next one. I constantly have to one mow a month is $60. Good night. I can't afford $120. Mowing every 2 weeks. So I have to juggle the schedule manually. Anyway, I'm gonna try and send off a nice big check to the landlord, and then hopefully I'll have a couple $100 left, and I've got to decide whether I'm going to use that couple $100 to buy a new bed. My current bed is literally nothing but a pile of the struts are broken out. It's a couple of boards. It's a couple of flat boards across an empty frame because the struts are broken out. It's just this side of a pile of broken metal pipes. Because it's broken at where the pipes are welded together. From my fat ass. If I could buy I'm gonna buy a cheap twin bed frame and a cheap twin mattress. And clear out the trash in the living room and set the bed up in here in the living room, so that for one thing, I can keep all my heating and cooling in one area, and so I can stay near the phone, because apparently if the phone rings and I'm at the other end of the house, it's a lost cause. But this, big heavy butt. This all depends on how everything pans out. The Patreon comes through tonight, or rather tomorrow. I freaking hate April 1st. I hate April 1st. I hate April Fool's Day. I hate April Fool's Day because, first of all, April the 15th. Tax month. April the 15th is not a day of spring and celebrations and Easter. It's tax month. First of all. But April 1st, I hate April Fool's Day. Because everybody thinks it's funny. You rely on various websites for information and keeping updated and knowing what's going down and what's not going down and all this other stuff. And somebody on the staff always thinks it's freaking funny to post some fake April Fool's story on their site, or they post a fake notice. Our website has gone down permanently, and you don't know. There are people out there genuinely dying of heart attacks and stuff, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's true or what's not. Clear up until April 7th. Up until April 2nd, because because people are jackasses. I hate April 1st. I hate April Fool's Day because it messes up everything for a full 48 hours for me. April Fool's pranks are fine. Okay, joy buzzers and crap like that. Maybe they're good for a giggle. But everything else, all these we fooled you into trusting us. No, not funny. Never funny. I got too much trouble in my life with that like crap. I'm sorry. I just had too many years. People doing stupid crap. You know. Makes a man angry. Well, most of the things people think are practical jokes are anything but practical. I just don't want anything to do with it. And you got to wonder how many people who've been in genuine, serious trouble. And just. And nobody helps them until it's too late because everybody thinks, oh, it's April 1st. Cops, from what I understand, cops hate April 1st and Halloween for about the same reasons. Because everybody out, pulling all sorts of pranks, making fools of themselves. And making their life miserable. There's a book I read ages ago, given to me by a friend of mine, a landlord, a place I used to live, called "The Moon is Always Full." When it was written by a cop, a former cop. And he said, and the title chapter is basically, they were talking, it was a crazy day, all sort of weirdos were coming out of the woodwork, and he said, it was overcast, but they'd swear up and down that it was a full moon night because all the crazies that came out, and he looked at it again, he checked the calendar, and nowhere near a full moon, but he's that was his, when you're a cop, the moon is always full. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm just hyper defensive about some things, I suppose. Uh, when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot, and it left me with a perpetual, even when people were just, it got to the point where even when people were just, playing with me, trying to have fun like with a friend, and my hackles just go up, bang, even now, because for a depressing percentage of my life, people joking around with you, quote unquote, was a prequel to a beating or something worse, you know. So not big on that joking with friends kind of stuff. It's taken me a long, I'm let's just say my social skills kind of atrophied. So somebody's just clowning. We were just playing around with you, and I'm ready to throw hands. Ah, Change the settings. People, I talk way too much about bullying. I write way too much about bullying. People, and I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life doing too much about it. And it's just a sad part of me that just can't forgive it, just can't forget it, just can't let it go, just can't stop wishing and fantasizing about revenge. The bullying I went through when we lived, especially particularly, it all started when we moved into a housing project called Kinsey Green in Xenia. It was like most housing projects, a complete armpit. You know, not because it was run down or anything. It was fairly well kept up, in fact. But the sort of people that live there, I didn't know about this until long after we moved out. Of course, I wasn't even in double digits when we left. I don't think. And but right across the street from us was a woman who was a prostitute, and she would advertise her wares by going up into the upper floor of her apartment and open all the windows, open all the curtains so that anybody could see her standing there naked. That kind of trashy. And the kids were vicious little sods. The bullies ran the neighborhood. I shudder to think what the teenagers were like. My God. Uh, I was merciful, and we were merciful in that the teenagers considered us beneath their notice. So, but just vicious little animals, and tried everything. Did all the standard things that everybody suggests. Tried ignoring them. Even tried befriending them. That didn't work. And those kids knew how to behave around an adult. It's when the adult turned their back is when you had to watch out for your life. And it pretty well screwed me up for life. It left me with paranoid and with a persecution complex the size of a Mack truck. You want to know how nasty it was out there? A few years after I left, I found this out about a year or so after we left. A couple of the boys, the ones that bullied me the most frequently, they dragged a little girl who was about my baby sister's age out into the, you know, out into the, they dragged her out of the housing project, where nobody could, out into the, bushes around the property where nobody found, raped her, and then drowned her in a ditch. We'd only moved out the year before. But hey, they'll grow out of their bullying phase, right? I'm reading that one guy was writing about some fellow is a African American. Up, did it? Uh, Inner city community people and family. The son had been caught in a fairly serious crime. I believe it was stealing a car. And this wasn't, this was like third strike for him at the very least. Anyway, the guy that was writing the story, he went out there and he went out into the hallway outside of the courtroom. And the boy's mother and grandmother and all the female members of his family were out there praying up a storm. Oh Lord, help! Oh Lord Jesus, help our boy, help our boy. And were they praying for him to, for him to have a change of heart or a change of, or to get right with God or anything else like that? No, they were praying for him to get off, for the judge to let him off scot free. You want to know why kids are like that today? There's your answer. They know exactly what kind of kids they raised, and they know exactly what their kids get up to, and they will look you dead in the eye. My angel boy would never do nothing like that. And it's not a race thing either. Don't get started with me. Our society has all sorts of problems. We're not going to solve any of them if we're going to proceed with a society where if we're going to have things so ridiculous that you're not allowed to criticize somebody based on because they're exempt from criticism because of the color of their skin. Now, I hate to break it to you, but the stats are in. When the African American community, quote unquote, the black population in the United States obscenely high crime rate, especially among young men. They don't even have, they don't even have a divorce. They just I think the last statistic was 4 out of 5 kids with no father. Uh, you can blame it on whatever you want. That's the discussion. That's the dialectic. What is the cause of this? But before you get anywhere, you have to start with the facts. And those are what they are. And it is not hate to tell the truth about the state of a community in crisis. It's just cold, cruel, hard facts. You're not going to fix anything wrong with a society if you're not allowed to talk about anything wrong with the society. And we got some serious things wrong. Voltaire, of all people, this quote keeps popping up in my head. If you want to see who your masters are, ask yourself who you're not allowed to criticize. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Just think of somebody you would be afraid to say anything derogatory about, even if it was true, even if it was essential to know for the safety and for the sake of the safety of people around you. But you're not allowed to say it because it's so cringy to say it. Here's a good one. When I was working at Big Lots, I've talked about this before. Now, I even made a comic strip in. I even made a comic strip in it in Camp Calamine. It got me all sorts of flack, but it was dead true. Uh, uh, just women shoppers uh, are far worse than men when it comes to understanding uh, you know uh, a bargain. Or well, let me put it this way. What it is, we had at the time we were that my supervisor and I were talking about this. We had this thing. It was a coffee table set, glass top, very nice. What it was a coffee table and 2 end tables. All right, keep those 2 end tables in mind. All in one box for about $150. Uh, the next end table over that we had for sale was something like twice that amount, like $300 just for one end table. And we see it again and again and again. Women particularly did this over. If men came in, they saw the bargain and they took it. Women come in and they say, "Oh, we're looking for an end table. I need an end table." And we go over and show them all the end tables, and then we point out, okay, but if you get this set here, you not only get 2 end tables, but you get a coffee table for the price of the for the price all 3 pieces for the price of one, basically. And oh well, I don't want a coffee table. Oh, I'm just so flustered, and it run out. And it's like the hamster in the on the wheel. It just fallen off in shock at the concept, and they couldn't hack it. And oh no. I'll just go find something else, and they run off the store again and again and again. We'd see housewives. There was one. He talked about one housewife. Her son, the store was running some sales on bottles of dish detergent, and the woman bought the larger bottle. But the boy pointed, her son was standing there. He said, "But this here, you get these two bottles, the two bottles of this, two of these small bottles, is more soap than in the big bottle for less money." The two bottles were cheaper than the one, and she told him he was stupid, and to shut up. Yeah, if you're listening closely, you can almost hear my opinion of women's IQ in general just dropping. I won't apologize for saying it. Look, it's time we started accepting as truth again that women and men are different. All right. First of all, women and men are different. Women are good at certain things, and men are good at certain things. But that also means accepting that, yeah, women are bad at certain things, just like men are bad at certain things. And women tend to reason more emotionally. And it's the largest part of the reason why men tend to default to being the ones in charge. Cops will come out. They once did a survey. This was a game show of all things. One of those things where how many of these people thought such and such a thing, and they asked the contestants how many of these cops. They had like 20 cops, veterans of the force since for at least 5-10 years. They're all standing up there, and is how many of these cops do you think said that women don't handle crisis situations as well as men? And one of them guessed so many, and it turned out none of the cops thought a woman could handle a crisis situation as well as a man. This was from their experience of dealing with both men and women in crisis situations. The men, they asked him, and he said outright, men will generally hold their ground, but the woman will just freak out and run in circles and wave her hands in the air. And they hate, and this is why they hate dealing with this, because they go out there, and this is why they hate domestic calls, because one half of the group is going batshit insane. And not one cop, and the whole audience, the viewer of the audience, ooh, because God forbid that the cops should actually say what their experience and knowledge was. I spent an entire episode reading a list of established scientific facts that came from the scientific community, straight from the horse's mouth, that you cannot say in public without starting a riot. Cold-blooded analytical facts, largely from hostile witnesses, no less. People that would get mad if they but they had to admit the truth. A society, The truth is hate to those that hate the truth. The horrible, that's the horrible reality. And people hate the truth because it doesn't it doesn't go along with their narrative anymore. It isn't, the truth isn't politically correct. You saw this in fascist countries. They refused, the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union believed in Lamarckian evolution for the longest time because they considered Darwinian evolution to be Jewish science. The scientists of the Third Reich refused to look at the theory. They're trying to build an atomic bomb, but they refused to look at the theory of general relativity because it was Jewish science. Batshit insane crap like that all over the world. You know. You try, these environmental scaremongers. You try and pin them down and point out, hey, guess what? The temperature has actually dropped over the past 15 to 20 years. Your models do not match reality. And they try and claim that, oh, you were bought out by the evil oil companies, because nothing's more evil than a company that provides the fuel that runs the planet. I remember a few years back, they determined, a couple of researchers sat down, and they did up the numbers, and basically, dollar for dollar, the McDonald's hamburger, the basic McDonald's hamburger or cheeseburger, was a better, it was a bit more nutrition more bang for your buck nutrition wise than most of human history. Just meat, meat and bread and cheese, and more meat than a great number of peasants ever saw. In a full day's meal, and and people flipped out over there. Tried and point out that veganism. You back a vegan into a corner and hit them with the facts. They just, because, hey, guess what? Veganism, it's bad for the environment, it's cruel to animals, and it's poor nutrition. But it doesn't fit the narrative. I always, I've got to try and keep forgetting the, make the paws, the hands or the paws, or whatever you want to call it, give them that dark fur. There we go. There we go. Much better. That just pops. Just right out of the picture right there. Clear this out. Right? Clear. Clear. There we go. Gotta put in the grass and trees and bushes and stuff here. Okay, YouTuber. Excellent. Slow down, my man. What is it? What? You want me to slow down? I can do that. But wait. Why do you want me to slow down? Can you tell me that? Was I talking too fast? Was that it? I thought it was a... Let's see, file. Saved. Okay. Daniel Meyer knows what I'm talking about, but I'm not. I'm going to be kind of vague over something I'm talking about next. A while back, for close to 3 or 4, a couple of weeks to a month, I tried to branch out into another course of action. I tried to do something that I knew I shouldn't have. That that I knew I shouldn't have. But that I desperately wanted to believe I could go ahead and do anyway. And I tried to do it. I don't know how much I should say. Should I outright say it or should I not? Because no matter what, either way, it's I've already probably said too much. I want to talk about it at the same time. It would probably be to my detriment to talk about it too much, and I've already said too much. Maybe there's some things you should just leave in peace, lie in peace. Bad decisions that you made in the past. or even in the very recent past. That's the thing of it is that Christianity, even independent, even Protest quote unquote Protestant Christianity. Protestant is the wrong term, but whenever you say Christianity, everybody thinks Catholic. No, the Catholics are only one faction, to be generous, and let's just say the rest of us have a bone to pick with them. But even in a Baptist churches, they're very big on confession and giving testimony of how you were drawn up out of the mire, and you were in a wicked way, and you were living a terrible lifestyle. Mark Twain poked big fun at that, because in Huckleberry Finn that you had the two shysters, the prince and the dauphin. What was it? The duke and the dauphin. Anyway, they made a scam of going from revival meeting to revival meeting, and and they would come forward and give this blubbering confession. I was a river pirate, and detail all their horrible sins, and how now that they had come to know the Lord, and blah, and everything was better now, and blah blah blah, and of course everybody would whip around the hat for a love offering to get them started on their new life. And they'd walk out with their pockets heavy and never see the place again. And then they do it all over again at the next revival down the road. Because he was, Mark Twain kind of nailed it on the head. He's not, for all the talk of, confession being good for the soul, it seemed to be almighty good for entertainment purposes. Because in the end, it looked less like somebody unburdening their soul and more like somebody thrilling the masses with, savory stories. Anyway, an unpleasant thing that most people don't like to admit. Excuse me, dry hamburger. And one of the things they don't like to admit or like to think about or address is that unless you're writing a tell-all book to sell in a Bible bookstore, an open-hearted confession of all the things that you've done, of your wicked, sinful past, a completely honest confession would destroy most people's lives. Because they will never look at you the same, and they will constantly be, one little part of them will be constantly snipping. Are they backsliding? He confessed to being a former alcoholic. Let's check and see. We don't happen to see any beer bottles in their trash, do we? Ooh, uh, you know, completely confessing your entire life to other people, no matter how much they talk about being brothers and sisters in Christ. Uh, that's why people are wisely reluctant to do it, because it could end their life or ruin it beyond repair in the wrong hands. We are to confess our faults and our sins one to another. But how much are we to reveal? Because revealing too much puts you utterly at the mercy of people you don't know all that well as you think you do. We inescapably learn early on that telling the complete truth to anybody who asks you is a quick way to get in trouble yourself. You're a little kid. Your parent comes running. Did you do this? Yeah. Boy, I sure learned your lesson there. I suppose it's just human nature. The first thing you learn is not that you don't learn to never do that again. You learn to keep your mouth shut about it. The parent, if there's a parent out there who figures out how to handle that little paradox, feel free to speak up and tell all the other adults in the room how you figured it out. How you managed to teach your children to be honest without how you managed to teach your children to be honest and also teach them to be accountable. down the rough shapes here. Let's see, grass, 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 grass. Grass A, grass B, grass C. Thorn, fallen leaves. Leaves. Grass clumps. Grass tall. Grass medium, here we go. Let's see, natural dry leaves. Thick grass. Leaves, 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 leaves. DV leaves 2, I believe. DV leaves 1. No, that's not it. Maybe get to Greywood first. Let's see, leaves. DV leaves 1. DV leaves 3, that's the one I'm looking for. leaves 1, DV leaves 2, DV leaves 3. I don't know why they... Let's see, and where did I put the cattails? Let's see. Grassland, foliage, grass A, grass B, grass C. That's more like it. Oh, come on. Stupid thing. That's terrible. To pick at it for a while. Oh, come on, let go. Quit that. So I was saying, I got a little problem with the mouse. It's gotten twitchy. It double clicks every time I click once. And it takes the slightest little motion, and you know. Come on. Wants to fight me every step of the way. I have to add some ripples to the water. That's going to take a little work. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I don't know the rest of the words to the song. I haven't got any. Let's see. No milk. No Kool-Aid. No. No soda. I'm tempted to call in the local place, order in some. Just once in a while, I'll order the. They got fountain ice. They haven't got any cups of ice cream. They got fountain ice cream. Okay, excuse me a minute. I gotta check something. Yeah. Okay, well, the local pizza place, their ice cream, they have no pints of ice cream in. They've been out for a week. No pints of ice cream. They sell Ben and Jerry's, and they have their soft serve ice cream machine is down for repairs. And like, you're killing me. You're killing me. Oh well. Let's see. As I'm never, I'm not going to order any. I've ordered sweets from, the sweet stuff, the desserts from Papa John's. Meh, never again. Okay, uh, they're brownies. Okay, the that cinnamon twist stuff they used to have, that was pretty good. But the brownies they sell, $6 for a tray of brownies, and you send it, and whenever it's raw, it's just this side of raw dough. Whoever told you, somebody, some corporate schmucklehead, sent the, we're going to sell brownies now, and they sell brownies now, but they don't know that how to set the temperatures right, because the brownies, the last 2 or 3 times I've gotten brownies from Papa John's Pizza, they've they've been raw. They've been uncooked. They're half baked. They're almost dough, in fact. And this last time, I got them. They were dough. I had to stick them in the toaster oven for an extra 5 minutes just to finish baking them. And they weren't all that great either. Just disappointments, disappointment central. Um, every time I find something good, it goes away. My hometown, we used to have a CC's Pizza. They had a pizza buffet with salad and everything, and I loved going there all the time. And then they closed down. And we had a Ryan's restaurant. Again, a buffet restaurant. They served steak in the afternoons, steak and chicken and pork and pork chops and real meat, real food. It wasn't just lettuce, 5 miles of lettuce either. It was a real buffet with real, and they closed down. There was a yogurt cone place just down here, and we started going there. And, it was a special treat for my dad. Would take my mom there, special treat, on their weekends, and they'd go down there and get a great big yogurt cone, with all the toppings and everything, and they closed down, and and or there'll be a menu item. I'll find it. I'm like, oh, this is so delicious. I've been waiting my whole life for this. And when can I order it? Oh, they stopped carrying it. It's starting to get to be a drag, in case you haven't guessed. It's bumming me out. They're pushing the Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is what I consider the real sequel to Ghostbusters, and they're pushing it back to 2021, summer 2021. And I'm like, thank you. I needed that little ray of sunshine in my life. They finally start to they finally try and do a Ghostbusters third movie correctly, and can't have that out on the screens too soon. Oh, no, no, not for you. Considering I can't see anything on the screens anymore. You know, it's just an extra few months for me to wait. Part of me wants to keep poking at this because it doesn't seem like it's, coming together. Part of me is saying don't mess with it anymore. I don't know. I think I better leave it be. I think I better leave it be. I keep poking at it and poking at it and poking at it. It's just gonna lose the charm it has. Okay. Stop that. Stop that. Save. Okay, file. Save as. Oh, Gunya. PNG. Music stopped. Okay. And we send this out to see the mail. Yeah. Have you heard some of the crap coming out of Hollywood? Huh? The fans. The reason this movie didn't do too well is because the fans. Yeah. That's how it works. You make movies and books and comics for the people that like them. And if you don't make what they like, they do not buy it. Did the fans ruin your artistic vision? Good, that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't care how many French restaurants you studied at to learn how to make turd au trufle. If people don't want turd au trufle, you're not going to sell none. Okay, let's see. Okay. Compose. Subject. Art. R2. Come on, come on. Here we go. Let's see. Old Vic. Okay. There you go, Daniel. Danny boy, your order is in the mail. The New York mayor is looking to shut down the First Amendment. Oh, good grief. Somebody needs to march down into New York and clue whoever is mayor at the time, clue the people who are running New York in, oh, guess what? You're still in the United States. Mm. There's a battle brewing for your $1,200 government relief check. Not surprising. Somebody in the government finds out that the American people are going to have money, they're going to be grabbing for it as fast as they can. What else do you expect a bunch of thieves to do? You're giving them their money back? They're expecting. Oh man, I don't know. This is they're predicting like 100,000 to 240,000 deaths in the next 2 weeks. Oh come on, you wretched thing! I really got to get another mouse. This mouse is not working correctly. Amazon.com. Here we come. Getting a lot of. Hmm. Just I'm getting a lot of complicated muckety muck in my feed here. Just trying to connections. What's our name? Oh well, thank you. He sent me a mouse. I'll have some cheese waiting for it. He would do that. I would open it. I could see that. I could see that. Open up a mouse, open up a box. Oh, this must be the computer peripheral I was expecting. Open up, squeak. Maybe not. I used to have a pet hamster. Poor thing. I've often considered getting another hamster, just for the karma. If that doesn't make any sense, because I was a kid and I really didn't take good care of the poor thing, and just I feel like I owe a debt to hamsterdom or something. But even a pet hamster in this environment, I don't know. You remember when you used to have a computer mouse and you had to remove Daniel, do you remember the computer mouse you used to have a computer mouse and you had to remove the balls and wash it, clean them off? And there's a real mouse over in the cage. What? You know, but okay, that joke was gross, but it had to be done. All right, let's see. Computerized is nice. It's very nice. Oh, it's streamlined. It's a gaming mouse Astra M30. You can almost hear the engine gunning. Wired USB optical computer mouse with 8 programmable buttons. Dun dun dun. Chroma RGB backlit 35. It's scary, man. That thing has more feature than my first computer did. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. These guys on one of the story forums are talking about different tactics that Dungeons and Dragons groups have used. This guy's talking. I'm suddenly reminded of a time, lo, these many years ago, where a party I was part of was driven towards the Temple of Elemental Evil by our dungeon master. We'd got a lot of useful magical items by that point, and a few interesting but not powerful ones. This included 4 decanters of endless water. Not being thrilled with the idea of invading the temple directly, we scouted the surface extensively to locate and seal most of the entrances. The DM was amused, but didn't realize what we were doing until we sprung our plan on him. We took the decanters of endless water and forged a metal grate big enough to cover the entrance with the help of a local blacksmith. Then we used summon creatures and the fabricate spell to take bits of the ruins around the entrance and provide quite a bit of weight on top of the grate. Finally, we turned the decanters on in their geyser option. 30 gallons around per decanter times 4 decanters, 120 gallons around. That's 15.6 cubic feet of water per round. The DM demanded to know what we were doing. Our response is that the temple was full of powerful NPCs and monsters. Only an idiot would fight them in their lair. Instead, we wanted to use the threat of flooding to cause problems, create confusion, and force them to come to us. We were also prepared to teleport out when things got tough and write off the decanters as a loss. None of us had played the module before, so none of us knew exactly how many different factions or hostile groups there were in the temple. The TM basically broke down crying from the thought of having to figure out the fluid dynamics of how the water would flow through the dungeon and how the various factions would interact on the way to the surface to make the flooding stop. Now I want to know the rest of the story. Oh my! Oh, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons with a group online, and it's been a few years, and we had a couple of different campaigns we ran. 2 of them were called uh, I think it was called Jalsheim U because we all of us were students in a magical university. No, not Harry Potter. This was before Harry Potter, believe it or not. And very strange. And we were college kids too. And and we just basically went bonkers with our character creation. One of us played a Warforged. One of us played a Kender. One of us played a I forget what kind of pseudo dragon it was. An intelligent race of pseudo dragon. And one of us played a paladin, or a cleric actually, who had been turned undead. He'd been made undead. There had been an accident on campus, and they took him to the necromancy department instead of the healing department. And well, he kept he still insisted on being a cleric, and every time he cast turn undead, he kept making himself run away. It was that kind of campaign. I went a little bonkers. I made a warlock character. He got it was he had been raised in he was feral basically. What it was is his mother had made a bargain with a rogue element of chaos and a rogue element of order. She had stumbled across them in the woods, and she had asked them to make her offspring their minion, basically. Hammered out the warlock deal with him. And the kid grew up, he was feral as a wild animal. He's also a mathematical prodigy, which is how he ended up in the university. We were a weird group. And we lived in a mansion, and our dormitory, our frat house actually was in a one of these haunted mansions owned by a demented old man who was crazier than the rest of us put together. But the other campaign we did is called Joyous Roguery. And I suspect that of being some sort of sly British buggery pun. Our DM was like that. But the idea is what we were a band of rogues living in the city of Jarlsheim. And we had our own tavern that we hung out at. We eventually bought the tavern, took shares in it, and we would get into absolutely bug nuts, insane missions. At one point, we stole the roof off of a nearby temple. At another, we had to battle an undead squid that had come up through our basement. At yet another point, we had to battle a gelatinous cube that had, again, come up through our basement, ingested all of our stock of wine, ale, and spirits, and it basically turned itself into a giant jello shot. We had the characters. One of our characters was a dwarfish. He was a dwarf. He was also a local. He was with the city guard, so he was basically a cop, but he was crooked. And Mike and I can't even begin to just. We had a priestess of mad science as one of our clerics. Another priest of an actors guild who was a changeling. We had a rolling cast, to say the least. My character was a gnomish rogue, straight up gnomish rogue. He was honest McGillicuddy. My idea was I was going to play him as a affable, criminal type, but that went out the window after the first session. He became the team's bundle of barely repressed rage because they kept doing things that were just so bonkers it drove him right up a wall. And he eventually stumbled into a wizard's trap and got turned permanently into a talking raccoon. Yes, I know. He sounds exactly like Rocket Raccoon. I'd never heard of Rocket Raccoon at that point. I'd never, the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy, the movies, weren't even a twinkle in anybody's eye back at that point. So, excuse me, I did it first, so there, nya nya. One of the things that I loved to take the random items we would get and make horrifying new inventions out of them. For instance, the DM eventually nerfed me on this. Had a wizard cast a curse on me so that I couldn't make them anymore. What I did is that I had managed to wrangle a glove a glove with a permanent shrinking spell on it. I could touch anything and shrink it down. As per the shrinking spell. The glove with the $5, the 5-finger discount. And he expected me to use it to steal lots of stuff, and I did, since I was a rogue. But I also had some interesting uses for this. Like, I eventually ended up with a couple of minions, and one of my minions carried a blunderbuss. And one day I went out, found a bunch of boulders, boulders and broken pavement and stuff lying around, shrank it down to the size of gravel, loaded the blunderbuss with it, and had my minion open fire on the front of a building we were raiding. The gun was destroyed, but so was the front of the building. Another thing he did is that alchemist fire, the little glass bottles of flame, those were easy to get. It was a regular market item, and so was gunpowder. So what he'd do, he would take a barrel of gunpowder, shrink it down to about the size of an apple. Then he would tie a bottle of alchemist fire. It's basically a glass bottle of alchemy potion that you drop it, it breaks, it bursts into flame. He would tie that bottle of that vial of alchemist fire to the outside of the barrel of gunpowder. And now the shrink spell can be dispelled from a distance by touch or simply by throwing the object. That's right, he invented the mother of all hand grenades. The number of villains who met a sudden and unprecedented end with those things, and the number of buildings that went straight up and came back down. Eventually, our fearless leader, the DM, got sick of it and sicked a random wizard on me that cast a curse so that he could make them, but they would no longer work for him. And then there was the time he used stuff out of the catalog, general stuff, mundane stuff out of the catalog, along with a couple of alchemist items. He built a blimp, basically. By the time the campaign was over, it was a normal fixture parked on the roof of our tavern. This great big giant Zeppelin parked on the roof of a tavern, and of course none of the local city guard noticed it. Then there was a time that we had one player. She wanted to play a character. She wanted to play a druid. The problem is her idea of a druid. I'm really not sure if it was a female player or a male player, but the character was female. But either way, the player had the image in his mind that a druid was basically the unstoppable battle tank of World of Warcraft at the time. Druids not be like that in Dungeons and Dragons. And one of the things that each of the new players had to do is that they had to appear at our tavern, and they sort of had to go through a hazing ritual with our bouncer. Basically, the bouncer was a complete phoebe, and they had to thrash him, and then we'd introduce ourselves. Well, anyway, she came in, and she tried to bully her way through everything. Turned herself, she turned into, her half werebearer form, and started, raising a ruckus. Well, it just so happened that my character, Honest McGillicuddy, had a pistol crossbow. Now, this pistol crossbow wasn't anything particularly special, except that he had a sleep spell cast on it. That if the dice roll was right, the dart from the pistol would knock you out. It was basically a tranquilizer gun. The thing of it is that by that point we had gone up several levels, and the pistol was getting less and less useful. But that one last time, I'm sitting there. She's trying to act like the 10-ton gorilla. She's trying to act like the 500-pound gorilla in the room, and it was really getting annoying. So just for the heck of it, Honest McGillicuddy pulls out his pistol and shoots her in the butt. Natural 20. Boom. she goes over like a tree. Thud. And just for the hell of it, we turned her into the police station across the street. That's when things got entertaining. Because she woke up in a cell and decided to bully her way out again. We all just got, all our characters just got chairs, sat out on the porch with a beer in hand, and I watched the fun. By the time she stopped trying to throw her weight around, she was buck naked, glued to the floor of her dungeon cell. Surrounded by a hedge of thorns, which the rather angry guards were chopping their way through to get to her cell and teach her a lesson about proper behavior of imprisoned people in prison. And we're all yelling advice to her through the window, the bars of the window that she's in. And she finally gave up. Will you help me? And so I came over. I planted one of my little makeshift grenades on the ledge of her window and told her, "You may want to plug your ears," and ran for it. Boom! It knocked her out. It knocked out it knocked out all the guards that were trying to get into the cell. And it blew half the front wall of the prison, sky high. After we were sure the coast was clear, we all came in there, peeled her off the floor, and ran for it. She was a lot more cooperative in the next session. Oh man, those were the days. Those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. For we were young and sure to have our way. Yeah. I'm so glad that they managed to invent the laser mouse. It works way better. Well, all it was basically a trackball turned upside down. There you had it. Yeah. I'm surprised the trackball didn't make it big. Of course, those things would have probably gotten dirty even faster. All the muck on your fingers, and eventually, Cheeto dust and. Anyway, excuse me. But, I don't know. Here we go. Pretty leather, purple and green, purple and lavender or lavender and green. You want to be picky. Now we got this. Just straighten some stuff out there. Okay. Yay. Okay, Danny Meyer. See you later, Danny Meyer. You're welcome for the pick, and thank you for the commission. Ooh. Whew, oof. I've got some tea. I've got some tea here, but it's green tea. I don't really care for green. I like black tea. I like black tea. And everybody's going, Philistine! But green tea just tastes just like what it is, green. It tastes like grass cuttings to me. I'm sitting here drinking it. Why do I feel the need to mow the lawn? Black tea, I don't know. I need to find a beverage, a non-water beverage that will not, bankrupt me or destroy my liver. And I don't drink alcoholic beverages, so, in case you were wondering. It's just I do tend to do things, Coca-Colas, colas and pep and such are really hard on you, and energy drinks. Oh my word! I love Monster Energy. I love Monster Energy drink. The green base, original green formula. I love it. I love the way it perks me up. At least I go. I don't drink it that often. It's not easy to get. It's not like I can just walk down to the store and grab a 6-pack. But I have to order the stuff, and convincing myself to pay for an entire pallet of radioactive green soda, it's easy to talk myself out of. But I love it. It's just the energy. And just at least for the first few days. I'll get like a 12-pack, and in the first couple of days. I'll control how much I drink to try to do that. Just maybe one or two, one can, maybe 2 cans a day. Just the first can, boom! It's like being turned back on. It's like flipping a switch, boom. But after that, it becomes, it's not so noticeable. But then, and then I run out, and it's back to bleh. And I'd love to be able to get hold of I'd love to be able to drink a Monster Energy drink that didn't have caffeine in it. Leave the caffeine out. The taurine maybe, but definitely leave the caffeine out. I like the flavor just the way it is. It's very. It's like Mountain Dew with an edge to it. I used to love Mountain Dew when I was a kid, but nowadays it tastes so flat. You get a fresh bottle right out of the machine, right out, just pop it open and you drink, and it tastes flat already. How the hell do they make a soda that is so carbonated and tastes flat? I used to love orange soda too. Orange soda, grape soda, and Mountain Dew. Those were the only things I would drink as a kid. Because I looked at those, I tasted Coca-Cola, and I'm like, all the other flavors were acquired tastes, and I wasn't going to mess with them. Ginger ale, blah, blah, blah. Pepsi, blah. When you're thirsty and when you got a Sugar Jones, you're going, you get acquired tastes. Trust me. Worst cola I've ever drank is RC Cola. RC Cola. The thing of it is, we used to get it by the 12-pack when we lived in Lincoln County. We used to get it by the 12-pack down at the little gas mart. And it was dirt cheap, 25 cents a can. And it was awful. It's the first soda I'd ever drank, and the only soda I've ever drank that left a dry taste in my mouth. Not bitter, but but left my mouth feeling dry. I don't know what they did to that soda to make it such a thing of evil. But you got used to it because that's what you had. And apparently the standard treat was an RC cola and an old moon pie. Moon pie. But Dr. Pepper and an old moon pie, that sounds good. And moon pies aren't all that great either. They're the sort of staple treat of the South, but I've never had a moon pie that the graham cracker cookie part didn't taste dried out and stale. Well, not stale, just so dry. And the marshmallow topping didn't add any moisture at all. So I don't know. They just need to add something to a moon pie that gives it a makes it moist. I think they just overbake the cookie. Is the problem? I don't know. Of course, if you bake if the moon pie wasn't dry and flaky, it probably wouldn't be considered a moon pie anymore. Bum ba bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. It's 9:56. It's 4 minutes till 10 o'clock at night. Ah, the horror. Let it go, let it go. Okay, it's time to go. Let it go, let it go. Blow this noise. All right, well, you all take care of yourselves, guys, okay? And God bless you, and thank you for everything you've done. Mom, Dad, if you're out there listening, I love you. You poor fool of a son loves you. All right? Good night, everybody.